All right. So I'm calling the meeting to order, um, which means that the next bit is Brendan, our secretary, going over through the roll call.
All right. Chair Anna Valentine
Present.
and member David Tate.
Present.
And secretary, that's also present.
Yep. So moving on to the next item in the agenda, I wanted to give an opportunity in case that there was any public comment and communication. I know sometimes we do have folks that are interested in cemetery issues specifically. So for today, given the subject of the matter at hand, so we'll try to keep it germane to the niches or cemetery, maintenance, etc. So if there's any concerns, questions, comments, we'll have a couple of minutes to cover those and make sure that we can go through that.
Are there any comments from other participants? Is anybody else logged in?
Yeah, we have 11 participants right now.
Okay.
So there's 8 additional. And so you can go ahead, and if there's anybody that has a comment, you can go ahead and unmute yourself since we're still in the age of Zoom. We'll give it a couple seconds in case that there's anybody with technical issues. All right. So hearing no public comments, we'll jump on to the next bit. Before we do, I did want to give a reminder, as it's board standard practice, you can also submit public comments to us via email, which Brendan can go ahead and put in the chat. Again, our email is board@wabashboard.com. Pretty simple, straightforward. And we'd be happy to help you go through that or answer any questions that you might have. We want to be as supportive as possible. Yeah. All right, so moving on to the next little bit, which is the main and item of our agenda, is the review of possible niches agreement for Sandridge Cemetery. We have it there. I can pull it up now actually, so I can do a share screen application. Okay, is it being seen right now? Can you guys see it?
Yes, thank you.
All right, perfect. Would you guys like me to go over and read it just for the record, or would it be okay not to? What's the standard procedure here? Or like I'll follow whatever the other board members feel like.
Personally, I'm okay giving folks a chance to review the verbiage.
Okay.
Is it also posted on our website on here?
I will make sure to post it. I don't currently have it up. I could do that in the next little bit. So here, so I don't have it on right now. Let me get this here though, and I can try to download it and see if we can post it in right after the meeting so that people can see it through specifically as well. Okay. Well, once I get home, to be very specific. So the memorandum of understanding, it's between the Wabash Township in Tippecanoe County, which will be therefore referred as the Wabash Township, and the Niches Land Trust, which is referred to as Niches throughout this. Whereas Wabash Township is the owner of Sandridge Cemetery, located on South River Road in Tippecanoe County, Indiana. Whereas Wabash Township and Niches are interested in allowing the Hills Thistle, which is, that's a scientific name, Cirsium hilly, and associated prairie plants to grow and flower at Sandridge in 2021. See map below, and I'll show the map in a sec. Whereas Wabash Township desires that the southeast portion, shown in purple below, of the cemetery within 10 feet of headstones to not exceed a 5-inch in height mowed grass aesthetic, and Niches agrees to maintain the southeast portion of cemetery at no cost to Wabash Township, with special attention paid before Memorial Day. Whereas Niches desires the right to collect a portion of native plant seeds from Sandridge for purpose of habitat restoration and on other properties. Whereas Niches agrees to provide proof of liability insurance, and any damages incurred during the maintenance will be rectified at the expense of Niches. Whereas Niches agrees to maintain all records relating to maintenance and seed collection, and in the instance of any damages found either by fault of Niches or by unknown circumstances, agree to notify Wabash Township as soon as possible. Whereas Niches will maintain the informational sign installed in 2020, hold 2 public walks in June when the hills thistle are blooming, and work with Wabash Township to design signage for the 2 entrances to the cemetery, highlighting why the prairie that is present on the site. Wabash Township and Nices Land Trust agreed to this arrangement through November 2021 with expected annual renewals if standards and work is completed satisfactory. And there's a typo there, so we'll correct that. During this time, both parties will work towards a long-term arrangement to protect the prairie, either through conservation easement or dedication of the land as state nature preserve. And then it has the signature of for the possible Wabash Township Board chairperson, as well as Gus Nyberg, who's the Niches Land Trust Executive Director. And I'll zoom in here to the map. That's the area that they are referring to specifically. Okay. All right. I'll give you guys an opportunity to come in. I know, Brendan, you've been here the longest. You have the most experience in the subject, so I'll open the floor with you.
With the cemetery. The Niches agreement is interesting. Of course, it has changed and evolved over time through our time on the board. But initially, one of the main benefits to highlight, there are many I've talked about kind of highlighted in the agreement, but initially one of the main things that kind of spoke to the board and our fiscal fiduciary responsibility and to that role, the fiscal component of this, the money it saves on cemetery maintenance. I find that very beneficial. This board has talked about looking at ways to put that money back in, that money saved back into hard improvements for the cemetery, and to look a little bit more long-term versus just looking at general maintenance in the short term, to allow us to kind of grow that possibility to better protect and highlight our cemeteries. I see that partnership as very valuable. Niches has been willing to amend our agreement in the past through the practice of good government in terms of taking feedback from folks and trying to adapt our agreement to best fit those most impacted by these agreements. To that end, I think it's a very beneficial relationship for the township. I expect this agreement will grow over time in terms of adapting to perhaps different needs, concerns that arise. But also, again, as we add a hard improvement to the cemetery, one has to consider that it needs to be maintained. We don't have many hard improvements at all in our cemeteries in terms of benches, let alone even fences. And we'd like to kind of look towards that to kind of embolden and strengthen those. So again, I find this to be a favorable relationship. I'm very happy with the verbiage as it has developed over time, and I'm excited to work with Niches again if that should come to pass.
Yeah. David, I know you spoke with Gus Nyberg and you had a more prolonged, in-depth conversation, so I'll give you the floor next if there's anything in particular you'd like to add, sir.
Thank you. I did go down to Sandridge and met Gus last week, and we had a really nice conversation. I was totally unaware of how many endangered species were in that cemetery plot, including, if I recall, he did say that that particular location had the largest amount of species of a particular endangered plant, and if it's either weeded or mowed, it'll never come back. I did find thistle. I found, I'm not sure what kind of cactus it's called. And there are just a myriad of beautiful plants there. And he walked me through that. So what we addressed was means of keeping the area that is not in the endangered area, how to keep that clean and picked up. And he's agreed to do that. There were two things that stood out. Well, three things actually stood out is the absolute dedication that this Niches program has to this. and propagating it. That's one. The second part is if you haven't been there and you pull into the cemetery, you only see the Sand Ridge sign after you pull in and go up to the endangered species area. And I asked if there couldn't be something done when you actually pull in and park so people don't, so they know what this is about. So the sign we have right now, I've asked him if he couldn't put in a second sign that would say the same thing so people don't tromp on things too late. The third thing we looked at was there's a large brush pile with refuse up at the top of the cemetery. And I asked if they would take that away. It looked a little unsightly, and he agreed to do that. I want to add that on May 13th at 5 o'clock, there's going to be a walkthrough at Sand Ridge. So I will put that up on my Facebook and everything else and invited the public to attend. I asked that maybe we should do this more often, a couple times a year, to let people know, especially the stakeholders who have monuments that have been worried about the maintenance and how that's done. If we can show them how we're going to take care of those monuments, weed around them, and take care, make sure that they're treated with respect, but yet allow those endangered species on the other side to be maintained and propagate. He was extremely excited that we were going to continue with this. I think he's done a hell of a job.
Yeah, I agree, and you know, obviously there's still grounds for improvement, and that's I appreciate that we have a willing partner that's willing to go through and try to make sure that we're balancing the, like, you know, being able to maintain the process of conservation, which is really important, and being able to preserve some of our native species, but also being able to be responsive to the requests and concerns from people that have family members interred there. One thing that, you know, and this is beyond the specific of the agreement, but one thing that I would look forward to us having, doing, in addition to the things that David suggested there, one thing that I would like to do is be able to have the township communicate with family members of those interred there, and being able to track better the family members and point of contact so that we can more easily be able to address concerns and give them information about what we're doing, what we're seeking to do, and have them be able to come to us if they have any concerns, and be able to make it a more collaborative process, because obviously, you know, their family members are interred there.
Exactly.
So sure that we're being accommodating, and that we are continuing to you know, upkeep what is obviously an important and hollow ground for a lot of families. So yeah.
Gus actually mentioned that. That was one of the key things that he felt would be a priority, is letting the people know that they're going to maintain around those monuments to make them look nice. They're not overgrown, but also let them know that we have an obligation to protect those endangered species as well. But he was really interested about contacting those people. That's why I mentioned the May 13th walk around and show them what we're doing.
Yeah, and David, and this will, you can do this after the meeting, right? If you can send it to me, I'll be updating the stuff online today, and I can create a tab as well on our website for event and information for the walkthrough. I know our website isn't the most popular website on the internet, but but if we can add it on there, it'll be we can make it so that people can also see those details there too.
Can do.
We'll try and share them. I did speak with Gus today. Another thing that we spoke about was, one was the concern about, like, you know, pulling in from Division Road, etc., not being able to see the cemetery coming in. So that was a thing that we've seen, and you know, and we talked about, and that's something that they're willing to address. Let me add Miss Maddox just joined the meeting. So that's another thing that we want to address. I did also want to say, just on a quick note, you know, it's actually impressive that we have a couple of endangered species in just a tiny little area, and it speaks really to, like, the need to conserve and preserve our species in our, like, in our community, because this is, you know, a lot of area hasn't been conserved over time. There's obviously been developments, and we've like have farmland, and we've done, you know, we've created parks, etc.
And strip
And
malls. You know,
strip
several of
malls.
the
Oh,
of the
yeah.
last lots that had hills thistle
Yeah,
were turned into commercial developments. 6 of the
exactly.
last 10 places we knew of hills thistle when we started this venture had actually been developed on the commercial end.
Yeah,
And there were only a handful of spots thought to have this hills thistle at all. So it's somewhat spectacular that, and almost serendipitous in this sense, that it should fall on a cemetery that's just kind of been for some time untouched. And now we've
yeah.
been able to help propagate it in controlled environments so that the genetic sequence isn't lost, and that we can still enjoy those flowers today too, while also growing in that agreement.
Yeah, and you know, and
Opportunity.
it's and as although I will admit to being pretty bad with flowers, I'm more of a of a fauna person myself. I like birds and whatnot, which are obviously also important in the ecosystem. It's really cool. You know, we have a cactus there that grows along the sand, or along the sand, you know, of the Wabash, and grows in the Indiana, like in the dunes, in the Indiana dunes area as well. And you know, and we have a lot of things to protect, so I'm really grateful for this opportunity myself. So I'm glad that that we have this partnership, and I hope that we can continue to expand it. um, Barring a couple of grammatical errors, and I don't want to be too picky about it. I know there were like a few grammatical errors, but um, I, I would move that we sign this agreement. Is there a second to that?
Second.
All right. Uh, Hearing a second, we'll proceed to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, seeing that all three members voted aye, I will assume there is no opposition. Is there anybody opposed?
Yeah.
There's no abstentions. Is that correct? All right. All right. Well, we have approved the agreement. I did want to, just because I know that we didn't at the very beginning, we had people, I want to make sure that there wasn't an attempt to make public comment. So I know that it's outside of the regular order, but it's a relatively short meeting. So I'll give an opportunity again, in case that anybody wasn't able to mute themselves earlier, and if there's any concerns about cemetery or anything like that.
Hi, Erica Beimel here, West Lafayette. I would just like to thank the board for taking on this initiative and this partnership. I think it's a great way to handle the cemetery, save the funds, as well as a very exciting opportunity to save the species that are native to Indiana. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. I might interject, Erica. I think that's an excellent comment. I did talk to Gus about involving more community groups. If there would be something within the Scouts or Girl Scouts about making this an Eagle Scout project or something to educate the younger people as to how important this is. And he thought that might be a worthwhile idea that he can work with us.
That is fantastic to hear. We actually had a service project planned earlier in the month. We had to postpone it because of potential rain, although it ended up not raining at the time. The rain waited until after the time we were expected to be there. But yeah, I think that that's another area that we can really look forward to working with. We have close partnerships with folks in the Sagamore. Is it Sagamore Valley Council? Did I get that right? Sagamore Valley Council of the Boy Scouts of America, and we look forward to being able to continue to seek opportunities to make change and protect and preserve and improve our cemeteries, and you know, making sure that we're being smart about our resources and bringing in people and having more stakeholders involved in the process, because want to make sure that our cemeteries are well protected, well kept. You know, oftentimes cemeteries get lost to time and to disrepair, and I don't want that to happen with our cemeteries. And I know that there's a lot of work to do to make sure that we're upkeeping it. And I think this partnership is a really good start to that. So yeah. Are there any, would any of you guys have anything else, or other that before I move on to the 5th item on the agenda? Oh, I can't hear you very well right now. I can't hear you at all.
I would have a point of inquiry as to what the 5th item of the agenda is, Anil.
Oh, the 5th item of the agenda is just future meeting dates.
Okay, good deal. In that case, I did want to take a quick second. When we did get started in this, several families did seek out the board and came to some of our meetings. I think that was before on your time. I think it was before. You might have seen a couple at some of our meetings. I just want to, I don't know if any of those folks are on the call, but I will throw it in the minutes. I want to thank those families for giving us those inputs. They kind of had to seek us out. We were unable to actively ask for their input or communicate directly. And if we had records of the township, the board didn't have access, unfortunately. But I wanted to thank the folks who sought that out and played a role in local government. It really did impact that agreement, which has evolved over time into what you see today. And I'm proud of that evolution. And I'm thankful to the folks who came in to give us that input. That'd be the one thing I would add.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to add. And I appreciate that. And again, I think sometimes local government gets a bad rap, but it's a lot of times it's all about just cemeteries and making things better and having people show up Parks and Rec style and talking at our meetings and making sure that they have us, that we hear them out and that they have an opportunity to share their concerns and that we can be responsive to those. So yeah.
I just have a real quick question here. Somebody mentioned to me today, and I did take the time to check it out. They mentioned that on the trustee website, the township trustee office is listed as closed. And yet when I drop by, there's just a little sign on it that says, knock on the door, wear a mask, and you can come in. So.
Yeah, I don't think Trish is on here, and I don't have the specific hours in front of me right now. I do know that the hours on the website are incorrect. If I remember correctly, oh, can you guys hear me?
You're breaking up.
Yeah, township or for the township. Now better?
I think it might have caught up there. Try again, Anil.
There we go.
All right. If I remember correctly, the hours of operation are from 9:30 to 3:30. But I have to double check that, and that's Monday through Thursday only. Yeah, but I know.
I've lost everybody. Is anybody else still on?
I'm here.
Okay.
We still have most folks. I think
Yeah, I'm
Anil's
still
just
here.
having some connectivity issues.
Yeah, my phone.
Yeah, not a problem, Anil. That's okay. I did want to take a quick moment and address, I had some comment come to me privately. So thank you again for that input. I think it's really important to note this. It was asked whether family members will still be able to place flowers on the grave sites. And I want to make clear that flowers left on the graves will be respected. Anil, if you're chatting there, I think that you are muted.
Correct. I screwed up. I kept talking. I did
happens,
want to
no
apologize.
worries.
I switched over to my phone audio, so it should be fine now. What I was saying was that I believe for earlier, the hours of operation, if I'm not mistaken, are from like 9:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Thursday, I believe, are the hours that the township office is open. So I believe that when you take out the lunch hour, it's about 20 hours a week that we're open right now. But I'll make sure to double check that, and we can try and we can mention it to the trustees to make sure that those hours are reflective there, and then we can also
I
add
might say
information.
that the website right now says the office is closed due to pandemic.
Yeah,
I believe
and
it
we
had said
are
that for some
open.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll make sure to we can make sure to change that and like ask for it to be changed, that is, and then we can also make sure to add information on that in our website as well. All right.
And I
So,
believe, David, your point though, I recall someone mentioning that our Google, when you Google Wabash Township Trustee Office, that the little Google thing that pops up on the side shows us as closed as well. I've been informed of that. So.
So yeah, we'll ask for it to be changed. Obviously, we don't have direct control over that, but we'll ask that it be updated to reflect information. Since if I'm not mistaken, throughout most of the pandemic, we've had an office staffer in there. I know that at the very beginning of it, we weren't having people come into the office per se, but there's always been people working out of the township office, and even if it is inaccurate for it to say to be closed anyway, because people might still be able to call in even if they weren't able to go inside the office. So I think that we can ask that that information be communicated more clearly. Other than that, is it all right with you guys if we jump on to the 5th item of the agenda?
Yeah, let's move on to our upcoming meeting dates so folks here can take note of those.
So we are expecting that the upcoming meeting dates will be the 3rd Tuesday of each month, same as we've been doing for the last couple months. So we'll have a meeting on the 3rd Tuesday of May. So that'll be on the May 18th. We really want to focus on township assistance guidelines, what's necessary there, but we also want to take an opportunity to start going through preparation for the budget season and making sure that we understand where we're at on township assistance, how much funding we have, as well as what we'd like to see happen a little bit different or whatnot, including I know that there will be some discussion as well as to what we do with past year's fundings once we encumber those, as well as making sure that we're trying to figure out what we can do best, and seeing if there's opportunities for us to expand our services. I know that in the past we've had small conversations about insulin and other stuff that we can do, and I look forward to being able to discuss those at the next meeting.
And in terms of previewing upcoming meetings, in that sense, I will send an email to the trustee, of course, noting the board on there, asking for our next meeting, if we could please see and review our employee write-up policies. It's something that in the light of much public reporting and conversations from employees of ours that I'd like to take a look at. So if we can, I'm gonna shoot an email over to the trustee and ask that we be provided any of those processes that our employees are expected to follow, so we can take a peek at those. Yeah,
and as I already mentioned earlier, we're hoping to be able to have Gus on at the meeting on the 18th as well. So we'll have a short part at the beginning, hopefully, of the agenda to make sure that he doesn't have to stick through the whole night before we get to his thing. To make sure that we have an opportunity to communicate and if there's any concerns or stuff like that, make sure that the board and Gus are aware, as well as trying to see. I know that there's plans to have walkthroughs in June. There's a possibility that we might be able to have those scheduled by then. We'll check in with Gus and whatnot and make sure that we're doing work on that front.
Can I just ask if we could have a meeting at the fire station, safe distancing and so on? I think the Zoom meetings are fine, but I think it's time we get back to some face-to-face meetings.
So our original plan is to start in June. so that the 18th would be the last meeting that's not face-to-face.
Okay.
That's the current plan, but I mean, we can have, like, Brendan, what's your thought on this? Where are you at?
I was kind of
I know that
interested.
it should have, yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay. I was interested in at least looking at a hybridized option where we have the board present, where our firefighters could attend, but that we kind of ask the public to come in via Zoom if they're able, kind of with an emphasis on that to make it accessible for folks, because I think that's been a great thing to come out of the pandemic. But David, me too. I think it'd be a lot easier to run these meetings and to communicate more clearly with our constituents, but also each other. And I think that'd be helpful. So I'm definitely interested in that hybridized option. I would still encourage folks to Zoom in rather than coming if they're able. But I know that a bunch of folks feel far more comfortable coming. So now that, again, I've been vaccinated, I believe you've been fully vaccinated, and David, you've been fully vaccinated. Our firefighters have had that opportunity as well. So I do feel comfortable with that. At least I would kind of prefer that hybridized method, but in some sense, David, I would agree.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we can go ahead and do that. I would then, if it's okay, I apologize for putting this on somebody else. Would one of you guys be able to, try and figure out on the technology side for making sure that we have access to like a microphone and a camera that we can transmit via Zoom or whatnot? Like the computer should be able to work fine, right? Like we can use any computer and I can log in from my account and make sure that it's all set up so that we can add people and whatnot. But would you be able to take the lead on that, Brendan, since I am going to be on break most of the time before the next meeting?
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll reach out to our firefighters and see what we have in house too.
All right, I appreciate that. I'm sorry for putting that on you. I would like to be able to do more on that front, but I will really be out of town and I need to break.
Absolutely, you do, and you're gonna have to take full advantage of being away, man. We all need a little dose of sanity here and there.
All right. So that's the next meeting day that I have on the agenda per se. But again, we'll have the following meeting after that is scheduled to be in June, on June 15th, excuse me. June 15th is the third Tuesday of the month in June. And I'm hoping that in that one, we'll be able to cover a little bit more about cemetery, as well as like any remnant talk about township assistance if we still have to move something forward. I know that the meetings can run long, so if we table anything, we can cover that as well there. So, yeah.
Good.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
With that, I think we've concluded our business set out here for our emergency meeting, with a special emphasis on making sure we look at that niche's MOU. We have asked and adopted that MOU, and that is the business to come out of our meeting. Having seen our business completed, I would move to adjourn this meeting at 7:40 in the evening.
Second.
Seeing no opposition, this meeting is adjourned. We'll be back here on May 18th at 6 p.m. And I'm really looking forward to speaking with you guys. And
You want that
I'm looking forward
6
to
7 p.m.
6 p.m. 6 p.m. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to having a little bit of a Missouri tan at that next meeting. All right.
And hell, is it 6 p.m. or 7 p.m.?
6 p.m. Can you hear me?
Yeah, 6 p.m.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon.
Sounds good. Take care on home and be safe in your travels.
Thank you. You too.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.